Welcome back. Well, our main story this afternoon, of course, aside from his comments on the political situation, the Ace Magashule, the Secretary-General of the ANC's tree planting program, getting off to a rocky start in Soweto earlier today. There were some tensions. Community members accused their leaders of not consulting them about the visits by Magashule. It was the ANC Secretary-General's first public appearance since that resolution by the National Executive Committee, which said that he and other people charged with corruption must step aside within 30 days. Magashule declined to explain his intentions and whether he'll abide by that decision. He's promised the community of Soweto their grievances will be tended to.
If they have not done so, we will come back. We will come back with your understanding, Chief. An issue.
Yeah,
because there is no tension.
Next time they must consult.
No, next time is me who's going to consult you now.
Yes.
I must do it direct.
Yes. In the community first, because your people are failing us. As soon as fail big time. And I get female
I'm leaders way too.
Yeah, I'm a leader. Yeah, I'm a leader. So I have failed and it's cartel. I'm a member. Mares cartel failure. I'm a leader's eight. So if good bafunu puma mabapuma, and then I learned to say funu estina rotin. Nkela niketen lento mathematician eslimas. Ngoba umuntu salale MD. Oh, listen, akasipusala le MD. Notice akasenzeli next. Ama complaints wethu afika nini kuyi. And again, ama complaints wakhe awafiki la. Ngicela lento mathematician iphele. Lento mathematician iyaslimaza. Ina ledi bina ledi. Imlethani ledi bina ledi for cancel. Ledi bitladi. Not to say what 5, what 6, what 7. Lento le divide and rule siyayazi and ngeke sithi. And he is confused. Ngicela lento mathematician iphele.
Ziyanda Ngobo, our senior political reporter, she was there. She saw it all happen. She joins us now. Ziyanda, good afternoon to you. I mean, this is classic political photo op stuff. Someone in the middle of a political storm goes to plant a tree. Obviously, an invitation to say other things, to be asked other questions. And then you have this reaction from some members of that community.
I can tell you, Stephen, that even before Ace Magashule arrived, there was already tensions, between those who had come with the van that was carrying those plants at the back of the bakkie and community members. In fact, where you see that clip and where the Ace Magashule is standing is a couple of meters up the road from where they initially planned to plant those trees. And earlier on, they were saying that, who are you? Who told you guys to come here? When did you speak to us as the community to come here? In fact, instead of planting trees, why aren't you coming here to tell us about how you're going to create jobs and give us jobs? We don't care about these trees. And so by the time Magashule arrived, then we had to move up the road, really, to a separate park where, again, before even speaking to the media, Magashule had to actually speak to these community members who actually were saying that we're not going to allow you to continue with this program until you actually speak to us. And so what you heard there is one of the community members saying, well, there's been a hampering in service delivery because in the neighboring area, they are getting service delivery. When we file complaints, they get addressed there, and hence you would have heard him speaking about demarcation. And Magashule has promised them to return after 2 weeks, but they still weren't necessarily satisfied because they were actually saying, you came here the last time, you made promises, we know, they even said, we know you're not going to come back, but anyway, just continue with what you came here to do.
Sure, okay. And the journalists yourself, were you more interested in gardening than the residents when you finally got to ask Ace Magashule a question?
Of course we weren't, and I think we both know, Stephen, as you've mentioned, when politicians are in the midst of a political storm, there's a random program that gets put together, such as the one as planting of trees, and where they will have an opportunity. It's the first public appearance from the Secretary-General since that explosive ANC NEC really, that actually got the closing address then got delayed by a solid 24 hours. And, he was essentially saying in the next 30 days from the 11th, he'll start off by consulting Matthews Posa, then he'll go consult former President Jacob Zuma, and that his office will be reaching out then to former President Thabo Mbeki. And in essence, there were many questions about whether or not you're going to step aside. Come the 31st day after the 30-day period, will you be rocking up to work? And in essence, he said, just wait and see. So let's take a listen.
As a member of the ANC leader, Secretary General, I respect the leadership, the decisions of a collective.
All right. I see you.
Step aside, SG. Are you going to?
Are you going to step aside, SG?
Let's wait until 30 days. The organization has decided. It has taken its decision in line with NASREC resolutions.
So in 30 days, are you going to step aside?
I support NASREC resolutions.
So on the 31st day, could you still be in that office at Luthuli House?
Wait and see.
SG, there's an issue of mass resignations that have been touted.
There's
an issue of mass resignations mass resignations from NEC members. Should the NEC enforce that you step aside? Is there such an element of truth to this allegation?
Me, Ace Magashule, I will never establish any new party. I will never go anywhere to join any other party. I will live and die in the ANC. I've been there in the struggle. I did not join the struggle yesterday. I've been there. I've remained loyal member of the ANC. I've served the ANC with dignity and respect and discipline. I will forever, my blood will remain black, green and gold.
Should you be suspended? Will you be going to court?
My blood will remain black, green and gold.
Should you be suspended? Will you be going to court?
My blood will remain blood, green and gold.
Will you be going to court? And are you going to step down after? Are you going to step aside after that days?
You don't resolve ANC matters through the courts of law. You resolve political matters through politics.
Zianda, I have a horrible feeling we're going to hear these clips again and again because they're two big things there. I mean, we've had other leaders saying we would never leave the ANC, and then they did. And now we also had what seemed to me to almost, was it a promise that he would not go to court on any of these issues?
In essence, I'd pretty much say yes, that actually political matters must be resolved within the organization. You'll remember how at some stage in provinces in particular, when matters were being taken to court when it came to elective congresses. So I think he's acutely aware of the importance of not taking these matters to court. Already the ANC was facing criticism for even seeking legal opinion on their own resolutions that were taken in 2017. And so the SG, being the chief administrator of the governing party, is acutely aware of these issues. We even asked him then, do you still stand by what you'd said outside the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court, that you are only going to be removed by the branches? And he said, well, just let the ANC deal with ANC matters. And it's very interesting that he mentioned that he'll be reaching out then to former President Thabo Mbeki, because you'll recall that there were reports that he had actually criticized the state of the Secretary General's office, saying that it's at its weakest in the entire existence of the African National Congress. So again asked then, what are you hoping to achieve from these consultations? You've taken a resolution in 2017. There are guidelines that have been adopted by an NEC that you sit on, you in the highest structure being the top 6. When you consult these past leaders, what conversation are you having within this 30-day period that you think may change the outcome of this NEC meeting? And in essence, Magashule is saying, leave the ANC to deal with ANC matters.
So interesting to see former President Thabo Mbeki and Fikile Mbalula agreeing on something. You don't see them agreeing on everything. So, okay, if I recall, Ace Magashule went into this meeting, the meeting over the weekend, slightly defiant. There were promises at some point that he would actually have a press conference this week. Normally, the Secretary General does communicate NEC matters. In the ANC Constitution, the President can too. But it's interesting that in the end he had to do a tree planting issue. And then you also, I see in the pictures there, you have the pleasure of the company of Carl Niehaus.
And I want to start off with that, because you remember that on Monday evening when the President, in his capacity as ANC President, Cyril Ramaphosa, gave that address, he actually said that there's only one ANC, which I think was the resounding message, that all those sub-groupings that are using ANC resources for counter-revolutionary activities, to quote the President verbatim, must actually cease to exist. And I tried to pose a question to Carl Niehaus to say, do you still consider yourself an RET force? And Magashule came to his defense to say, leave Carl Niehaus out of this. Niehaus is here to assist me. He still works in my office, the SGO's office, and all groupings need to cease their activities. And so he even said, defend what, to quote Magashule. I think he's speaking about defend our democracy, saying all these groupings, because it wasn't just about the RET forces, they all need to stop with activities and raise their issues internally within the organization. And I think in order for the case of the Secretary General to be strengthened, he too also needs to toe the line of the president, who many people are saying this is one of the first times we've seen President Cyril Ramaphosa actually sending a strong message and actually being authoritative about the issues that have come out of the NEC with regards to him actually taking the lead. Well, this is not the first time we've seen Ramaphosa post at NEC meeting actually leading a particular briefing as opposed to the Secretary General. And this is because of that one time when the Secretary General had apparently actually communicated a completely different message to what had actually been decided within the NEC. And so it's clear then at this stage, even with the factions, that the president at this stage needs to return to that principle of democratic centralism and that the center must hold.
Senator Noble, as always, thanks very much indeed. Lots of political reporting, lots of planting of trees, a little bit of anger as well, it would seem, on the streets of Soweto today. Well,